Sometimes people don't love you. They just hate the idea of you being loved by someone else. That's the truth, my friends, and it's a truth most people run from because it's ugly, uncomfortable, and brutally honest. But we're not here to run. We're here to wake up, to see what's been happening behind the curtain, and to stop being played like puppets in someone else's emotional circus. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a warm fire in the middle of a cold night. Not a bonfire everyone gathers around with loyalty, but a fire pit they keep returning to only when the temperature drops. They don't want to build with you. They don't want to protect you. They just want the heat. And the moment they're warm again, they disappear. You were never the destination. You were just a convenient stop on the way to somewhere else. And the worst part, you thought that meant something. That's where so many people get stuck. They don't want you, but they don't want to lose you either. Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. If you've ever asked yourself, why do they keep checking up on me, watching my stories, texting me out of nowhere, saying they're not ready but still sticking around? This is why. It's not because they love you. It's because your presence serves a purpose, even if your heart doesn't get honored in the process. Let me break a lie that's been whispered in your ears for far too long. Mixed signals don't mean maybe. Mixed signals mean no. They're not confused. They're controlling the situation just enough to keep you emotionally attached, just enough so you don't walk away, but never enough for it to grow into something real. You're not in a relationship. You're in a loop that feeds their ego and drains your peace. The worst kind of prison is the one you decorate with hope. And that's exactly what many people end up in, a beautifully decorated lie. You think every message is a breadcrumb leading back to love, but it's not. It's just bait, emotional bait. The kind that keeps you second-guessing your worth while they enjoy the comfort of knowing you're still orbiting around them. But here's what I want you to know, my friends. You're not crazy for feeling confused. You're just waking up to the game. And that right there is the beginning of power. The moment you see the cycle is the moment you can choose to step out of it. This video is going to reveal the 7 real reasons why they won't let you go, even if they're not interested. And by the end, you'll be looking at their behavior with new eyes that see clearly, a mind that isn't manipulated, and a soul that's done being someone's emotional safety net. So here's your affirmation. My peace is not for rent. Write it in the comments below right now. Let the world see you're not playing small anymore. You're not holding your breath, waiting for someone to choose you while they enjoy the perks of your presence without offering anything real in return. Smash the like, subscribe to this channel. This journey doesn't stop here. We're going all the way in. Stay with me. Number 1, they want the benefits, not the bond. Some people don't want you. They want what you do for them, and that's not love, that's usage. Let that one settle in. Because if you've ever wondered why someone who swears they're not ready for a relationship still lingers around your life like background noise, here's your answer. They don't want the bond, they want the benefits, the warmth of your attention, the glow of your validation, the comfort of your energy, but not the responsibility of truly caring for your heart. It's like you're offering them a 5-star hotel stay, but they don't want to pay the price. They want room service, a fluffy robe and a view, but no commitment. They want love's rewards without love's effort. And you end up cleaning up the emotional mess, hoping that maybe, just maybe, one day they'll see your worth and finally stay. My friends, let's get honest. You're not the only one who's ever been in this trap. You give, they take. You care, they consume. And just when you start asking for something real, they hit you with, I'm not ready, or I'm confused, or let's just go with the flow. but somehow they're ready enough to text you at midnight, call you when they need to vent, flirt when they feel low, and keep you around like a favorite playlist. Convenient, familiar, on demand. Now you might be asking, if they're not serious, why do they act like they care sometimes? And that's exactly the trap. They act like they care just enough to keep you hooked. It's the emotional equivalent of someone giving you water when you're starving. Keeps you alive, but you're still starving. That's not care. That's control disguised as affection. And here's the part that hurts. You might think you're being patient. You might think you're building something slowly. You might tell yourself, they just need time. But deep down, you know something's off. You can feel it in the inconsistency, in the way they respond when you talk about the future, in the way they're always available when they need something, but never present when you need them. You can't build a home with someone who only visits when they're lonely. That's not partnership. That's convenience. And I know it's not easy to walk away from someone you've invested in. It feels like abandoning your own effort. But let me ask you this. What's the real cost of staying? Your peace, your time, your self-respect, your energy. The lie they want you to believe is this: if I give more, they'll eventually see how much I care. But the truth? The more you give without boundaries, the more you teach them to take without guilt. You're not showing them your value. You're showing them how much you're willing to sacrifice even when they're not giving anything back. And that's not love. That's self-betrayal. You might think pulling back means giving up. It doesn't. It means protecting your worth. You might worry, what if they finally realize they want me after I walk away? But let me tell you something hard and holy. If they only realize your value after you stop giving, they never valued you to begin with. They just feared losing their benefits. Imagine a vending machine. As long as it keeps spitting out snacks, people keep pressing buttons. But the moment it stops working, they move on, or suddenly call for service. You've been the vending machine of validation, comfort, effort, and love. But who's been restocking you? And that's why it feels difficult to stop. Because stopping means facing the truth. They were never trying to build something real. They were trying to keep a source of energy nearby, and that realization hurts, because it means most of what you believed was potential was really just emotional convenience. But my friends, this isn't about regret. It's about reclaiming. You're not weak for loving. You're not foolish for hoping. You're human. You're strong. And now you're waking up. And that's the most powerful thing you can do, because now you get to choose. You get to decide who gets access to your energy. You get to filter out those who only take and make room for someone who shows up to give. So here's what I want you to do right now. Take a deep breath and comment these 4 words below. My love has value. Say it for yourself. Say it so others know you're not a vending machine anymore. You're not a background character in someone's drama. You're not emotional room service. You are a person with depth, value, and vision, and your love isn't up for free trial anymore. Write it, show it, prove it to yourself and to the world that you're done letting someone collect the benefits without building the bond. And stay with me, because what's coming next is even deeper. We're about to expose what really happens when you stop being Plan B, when you stop waiting, when you stop hoping for effort from someone who never intended to invest in the first place. You're not ready to let go just yet. That's okay, I've got you. But by the time this video ends, trust me, you'll see it clearly. And once you do, there's no going back. Number 2, you're their backup plan. They don't keep you around because they want you. They keep you around in case the one they do want doesn't want them. Let's not sugarcoat it, my friends. That's the truth. And I know it hits hard because deep down, you probably already felt it. You've seen the signs. They tell you they're figuring things out, but never let go. They tell you you deserve better, but still check up on you when you go silent. They keep you emotionally available, but never fully commit. Why? Because to them, you're the safety net. The emotional plan B, the backup generator in case their fantasy love story crashes and burns. Now picture this. Imagine you're at an airport. They say they're not boarding your flight. They've got other plans, but they won't leave the gate. They hang around, checking the schedule, watching your flight number light up, just in case their other destination gets cancelled. You're not their dream vacation. You're the emergency route when their original plan falls through. And here you are, standing there, hoping they'll suddenly pick your gate and run toward you like a movie ending. But they won't, because you were never the destination. You were always the backup escape plan. Here's the part they'll never say out loud. It feels good to have someone they can fall back on. It feels powerful, safe, convenient, and as long as you're available, texting, supporting, checking in, they don't have to fully grieve the loss of other connections, because you're there, ready, willing, hopeful. That makes them feel wanted, even when they're not willing to want you back. You're the emotional equivalent of a spare tire, stored, unseen, but there when needed. And maybe right now, you're asking yourself, how did I even end up in this position? It's not because you're weak. It's because you're strong in the wrong direction. You've got a big heart, a loyal soul, and you've mistaken potential for promise. You saw glimpses of connection, and you built castles in your mind while they barely planted seeds. But every time you start asking for clarity, for consistency, for real commitment, they shift, they run, they get confused. Not because they are, but because clarity means they'll have to admit they don't want to build anything. They just want to keep you around, just in case. Being someone's option is not the same as being someone's choice. And if you're honest with yourself, you know you've been treated like an option, like someone they turn to when the silence gets loud or the other person disappoints them. And yeah, they'll make it feel special sometimes, laugh with you, open up, call you their safe space. But the moment you talk about a future, it gets cold. Because the backup plan isn't supposed to dream, the backup plan is just supposed to wait. Let's break the lie wide open right here and now. If someone really wanted you, you wouldn't have to guess. You wouldn't have to analyze texts, wonder about mixed signals, or hope today is the day they finally choose you. Real love doesn't leave you waiting at the terminal. Real love doesn't keep one foot in and one foot out. Real love walks toward you with both feet planted and both eyes clear. But it's not easy to let go, right? You start wondering, what if they change? What if they wake up one day and realize I was the one all along? That's the dream we cling to, that one magical moment where they see the light. But let me hit you with something real. People don't change out of comfort, they change out of consequence. As long as you're available, ready to catch them when they fall, they'll never feel the consequences of their indecision. And without consequence, there's no clarity. They don't want to lose you, because losing you would mean losing access. Access to your kindness, access to your presence, access to the possibility of being loved even when they're not loving back. It's emotional luxury. You become the emotional Airbnb. They get to check in, relax, and leave when it's inconvenient. No bills, no responsibility, just comfort. But what about you? Where's your comfort? Where's your return? Every day you stay on standby is a day you could be flying towards someone who chooses you, not just uses you. It's a day you could be healing, rebuilding, growing. Instead, you're burning fuel for someone who's not even on board, and you keep convincing yourself, maybe this is love. No, my friend, love doesn't live in waiting rooms. It walks out and meets you at the door. Let's talk about what happens when you stop being the backup. At first, it'll shake them. They'll feel the silence, they'll sense the shift. Suddenly the texts will come, the "I miss you" messages, the vague check-ins. But pay attention, they still won't offer anything real. They'll try to bring you back into orbit, but never to land. And that's how you know it's not love, it's fear, not of losing you, but of losing the power you gave them by always being available. You might feel guilty, you might feel like walking away makes you heartless, but that's a lie too. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care enough about yourself. You're not closing the door out of spite. You're closing it to stop bleeding. You're finally putting yourself first in a space where you've been second for far too long. So here's your affirmation today. I am no one's plan B. Say it. Write it. Drop it in the comments right now. Let it be the first boundary you set for yourself. Let it be your line in the sand. Show the world that you're not someone to be kept around. You're someone to be claimed, respected, and chosen. No more waiting, no more hoping for maybe. No more allowing your energy to be treated like a spare tire in someone else's journey. Because when you stop playing the backup, something powerful happens. You stop chasing temporary comfort and start building permanent peace. And that, my friends, is where the real transformation begins. Stay with me. What's coming next is the truth about what they really feel when they realize you're no longer in orbit. And trust me, that moment hits harder than any text you've ever waited for. Number 3, they hate the idea of you moving on. It's not that they still want you, it's that they can't stand the thought that someone else might. Let that sink in, because this is where things start to get twisted and painfully real. You're not just holding on to hope anymore. Now they're holding on to you, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear that you'll wake up, stop waiting, stop chasing, and worse, start being desired by someone else, not because they suddenly want you, but because the very idea of you moving on, that bruises their ego. Imagine this, you're a spotlight, and for a while they stood right in the center, basking in your light. Every compliment, every check-in, every moment of emotional attention, they soaked it up. But then you shifted the light elsewhere. Not out of spite, but because you finally got tired of holding it for someone standing still. And what did they do? They stepped forward, reached for the warmth again, not because they're cold, but because they can't stand being out of the glow. This is what happens when you start to pull away, when you go quiet. When your energy is no longer orbiting around them, you become unavailable. And for some people, that hits harder than heartbreak, because it means they're no longer in control of how you feel. And trust me, they could live without loving you. But losing their influence over you, that's what really hurts them. You ever wonder why the moment you stop texting, they suddenly reach out? Why, when you finally decide to focus on yourself, they pop back in with a "hey, thinking of you"? It's not random, it's not fate, it's not love reawakened, it's control slipping, and them doing everything in their power to grab it back. See, when you were always there, always giving, always hoping, they didn't have to try. You were a guarantee. But the moment that certainty fades, they panic. Not because they miss you, but because they miss what you gave them without asking for anything in return. And it's not always a conscious thing. Sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. That's what makes it more dangerous. It's not manipulation in the traditional sense. It's not some grand scheme. It's emotional survival, their ego's survival. Because in their mind, if you stop caring, then maybe they were never that important in the first place. And that's a truth too heavy for them to carry. But here's where the trap catches most people. You confuse that sudden check-in, that "I've been thinking about you" message, as a sign that maybe they've changed. Maybe they finally realized what they lost. Maybe they're ready now. No, they're not ready to love you. They're just not ready to lose the version of you who was always available. It's ego CPR. A quick shock to their self-esteem to remind themselves, I still matter to them. And if you respond, if you go back to giving them that attention, that warmth, that effort, you're not reconnecting. You're resuscitating their control. You're putting the chains back on yourself with a smile. Because let's be honest, what happens next? They're sweet for a moment, present for a while, then suddenly distant again, cold again, unavailable again. Because they never came back to build, they came back to reclaim, not your heart, your submission. Think about how many times this has happened. They disappear, you start healing, and boom, they're back. Not with changed behavior, not with a plan, just back. And every time you entertain it, every time you open that door just a crack, it resets the entire game. You go from rising to retreating, from moving forward to hoping again. And that's how they keep you stuck. Not by loving you, but by fearing the day someone else does. Let me break this all the way down for you. If they were really afraid of losing you out of love, they would have claimed you when they had the chance. They wouldn't wait until silence. They wouldn't wait until distance. They wouldn't wait until the spotlight shifted. They would have stepped up. They would have built something. But instead, they watched you burn out giving and only moved when your flame began to fade. Not to protect you, to protect their access. That's not love, that's ownership, that's ego, that's survival. And my friend, you were not born to be someone's emotional trophy. You are not here to validate someone's existence just because they're afraid of being replaced. You are a soul, not a shadow. And you deserve more than being someone's insurance policy against their own insecurity. But I know it's not easy. I know the fear creeps in. What if they're the one? What if they change for someone else? What if I'm giving up too soon? Let me tell you this with love and fire. If they were the one, they wouldn't need this much convincing. They wouldn't let go of someone who gave so much, only to come back when the silence gets loud. Real love doesn't need a reminder of your worth. It recognizes it from the start. So here's your power move today. Do not respond to their panic with your presence. Let them feel the loss. Let them sit in the absence they created. Let them face the silence they used to fill with games. Because in that silence, they're not just losing you, they're losing the version of themselves that got to feel powerful through your love. And that's a loss they won't forget. Right now, I want you to drop this in the comments. I am not a backup. Say it out loud. Write it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world around you that you've left the role of the second choice. That you're not something to be reclaimed when their options run dry. You're not a spark to be relit when their ego flickers. You're a fire of your own, and you've got places to burn. Because here's the truth. The moment you move on with dignity, they lose control, and that's what they fear more than anything. You finding peace, you finding someone who sees you fully, you waking up and realizing you were never too much. They were just too insecure to receive real love. So let them panic, let them wonder, let them feel the void they left behind. But you rise, you glow, you protect your peace like it's gold. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to expose how people can be addicted to your attention like a drug, and how to break that cycle once and for all. You're not done leveling up yet. Let's go deeper. Number 4, they're addicted to the attention. They don't miss you, they miss the way being wanted by you made them feel. Read that again, let it sink in. Because this isn't about love. This isn't about connection. This is about addiction. Not to your presence, not to your heart, but to your attention. Your texts, your compliments, your check-ins, your emotional energy. You've become their favorite drug, and they're hooked. Not on you, but on the high they get from knowing someone still desires them. Let's be real, my friends. You didn't just show interest, you showed up, fully. You were consistent, you made them feel seen, admired, adored. You turned ordinary days into warm reflections of worth. Every time you sent that good morning text, liked their posts, asked how they were doing, it was another hit of validation, a dopamine spike, another reminder to them that I still got it. And just like that, they'd smile to themselves, not because they care about you, but because you reminded them they're still desirable. But here's the dark side of that feel-good moment. It wasn't about you. It was never about building something. It was about maintaining the feeling, keeping the ego inflated. And once they got what they needed, they disappeared, went silent, pulled away, cold, detached. Why? Because the craving was satisfied until it wasn't. And then, just like clockwork, when they needed another hit, they came back. A quick message, a flirty emoji, a random, "Hey stranger," and boom, you're back in the cycle, hooked again. Now you're probably wondering, if they're not into me, why do they keep engaging? Because people don't crave love. They crave what love feels like when it comes from someone who gives without hesitation. You didn't just like them, you made them feel significant, and that feeling, that's what they're addicted to. You became the source, the plug, and as long as they can tap into you, whenever they're low, bored, lonely, or insecure, they will. It's like you're running an emotional gas station. They pull up on empty. You fill their tank. They drive off. No thanks, no payment, no plans to stay. Just the comfort of knowing you'll be there next time they run low. And the worst part, you've convinced yourself it means something. That maybe these little moments, these interactions, these digital breadcrumbs are leading somewhere. But they're not. Let me break the illusion wide open. They're not building a future with you. They're buffering their own self-worth. They love the idea that you're still watching their stories, that you still react to their selfies, that you still laugh at their dry messages and check in when they vanish. You've become their audience, and they love to perform. They love the spotlight. And you've been clapping from the front row, thinking it's a shared show. But you're not on stage. You're just the seat they know is always filled. And here's where it gets even more twisted. The moment you stop, the moment you pull back, reclaim your energy and go silent, they feel it. That empty space where your attention used to live, that absence, it burns, not in their heart, but in their ego. That silence isn't just quiet to them, it's threatening, because now you're no longer feeding their image of being desired. You're no longer reflecting their worth back to them, and that's a loss they can't ignore. So what do? They send a signal, a message, a like, a view, something, anything, not to reconnect, not to rebuild, but to check. Are you still watching me? Do I still matter to you? Is the tap still working? It's not communication, it's ego checking in on its supply. And if you respond, if you pour back in, you just confirmed it. You're still there, still willing, still hooked. You need to understand this. Attention is currency, and you've been giving it away for free. You think it's kindness, you think it's effort, you think it's patience. But to someone who never intended to invest back, it's just fuel. You're funding their emotional lifestyle while bankrupting your own. You're making deposits in someone's ego account while your heart keeps overdrafting. Now let's talk about how you break it. You stop giving what they didn't earn. You stop reacting to everything they post. You stop replying to empty messages meant to test your temperature. You stop being available every time they're lonely. And you stop confusing interaction with intention, because that's how they keep you stuck. That's how they keep you hoping. A little message here, a compliment there, just enough to keep the door cracked, but never enough to fully walk in. That's not connection, that's emotional breadcrumbing. Don't let someone treat your presence like background music, always playing, never noticed until it stops. You're not here to be someone's casual entertainment. You're not an ego refill station. You're not a mirror for someone too afraid to look at themselves. You are a whole world. And your attention? It's sacred. It should come with terms, conditions, value, not just be tossed around like confetti at their convenience. And I know this might be hard to accept, because part of you wants to believe the story, that maybe there's more, that maybe it's love in disguise, that maybe if you just keep showing up, one day they'll turn around and say, it's always been you. But real love doesn't hide behind crumbs. Real love doesn't watch you starve while it feeds off your effort. Real love doesn't need to be chased. It shows up and stays. So here's what you do now. You reclaim your worth. You pull your energy back, not to punish, but to protect. You create silence, not to manipulate, but to heal. You let the void they feel be a mirror, not for guilt, but for truth. Because if they only come to you when they need something, they don't deserve you when they have everything. I want you to drop this in the comments right now. My attention is earned. Say it like you mean it. Let the world know you're not cheap with your energy anymore, that you've woken up, that you've disconnected from the performance, and that you're ready to protect your focus like it's gold. Because here's the truth, folks. The moment you stop giving your light to someone who only steps in the sun to feel better, you begin to glow for yourself. And that glow? That's what draws in someone who sees you, not as a drug, not as a mirror, but as a person, whole, valuable, real. Stay with me, because what we're uncovering next, it's the brutal truth about how letting you go would expose everything they're afraid to face. And once you see that, you'll never chase again. Number 5, letting you go would expose their insecurity. They don't hold on to you because they love you. They hold on because your presence hides how broken they really feel inside. Let's stop pretending, my friends. If they really wanted you, if they truly loved you, they would have stepped up long ago. But they didn't. They hesitated, pulled back, gave you crumbs. So why are they still here? Why do they still show up in your life like an echo that refuses to die out? Because letting you go would force them to face the mirror they've been avoiding their whole life. You see, your love, your presence, your patience, it's been their emotional mask. It's covered up all the cracks in their confidence. Every compliment you gave, it patched a hole in their self-worth. Every time you forgave, it numbed their guilt. Every time you showed up, it made them feel like they still mattered, even when they didn't earn it. And now, imagine taking that all away. Imagine they finally have to look at their reflection without your light softening the edges. Scary, right? That's the point. They don't want to lose you because they don't want to lose the illusion of being worthy. You've made them feel like someone, and if you leave, that feeling leaves with you. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. It's like using perfume to cover up a bad smell. It doesn't solve the problem. It just hides it. You've been their fragrance, their escape, their emotional air freshener. And the moment you walk out of their life, the scent fades, and all they're left with is the truth of who they really are underneath. Someone who doesn't love themselves. Someone who's afraid of being truly seen. Someone who clings to others not out of connection, but out of fear of being forgotten. And let's be honest, that fear, that's what's kept them stuck. Not just with you, with everyone. They never go deep, they never go all in, because going deep means being vulnerable. Going deep means being real, and being real means being rejected for who you actually are, not the version you pretend to be. You, on the other hand, showed up authentically. You gave love, you gave time, you gave space, you gave effort. You weren't trying to manipulate, you weren't trying to control. You just wanted something genuine, but because they were so afraid of not being enough, they never let it happen. They kept it surface level, safe, shallow, comfortable. But here's what they didn't realize. You saw them anyway. You saw their insecurity. You saw their indecision. You saw through the flirty texts, the hot and cold behavior, the "I'm just not ready" excuses. You knew it was fear, but you stayed. You gave them grace. You tried to hold space for them to grow. And in return, they took your love and used it like a security blanket they had no intention of wrapping around you. That's why letting you go is terrifying to them, because when you're gone, they're exposed, raw, unfiltered, vulnerable, and people like that, they don't face their demons, they run from them. They keep someone like you around not to heal but to hide. You became their emotional curtain, and now that you're waking up and pulling it back, they're scrambling. You ever notice how they always reach out right when you start moving on? How the messages always come when your energy shifts? That's not timing, it's insecurity flaring up. They feel your detachment, they sense that your patience has run out, and that quiet panic sets in. What if they stop needing me? What if they find someone else? What if they finally see I had nothing to offer in the first place? And it's wild, because they might even blame you for pulling away. They'll call you cold or changed, or say you used to be different. But you didn't change, you evolved. You stopped confusing their comfort with commitment. You stopped allowing their confusion to become your cage. Because here's what you realized. You are not responsible for someone else's healing when they refuse to even acknowledge the wound. And no matter how much love you give, you cannot build self-worth for someone who's addicted to hiding behind yours. That's why this is so hard, because part of you still wants to believe they'll figure it out, that they'll rise, that they'll face the pain, and finally become the version you always believed they could be. But let's break the lie right here and now. Love is not enough to fix what someone refuses to face. It never has been. It never will be. You have to ask yourself, what's really keeping them here? Is it connection, or is it comfort? Is it love, or is it fear? Because if they were really about love, they'd fight for it. They'd show up. They'd do the work. But if it's fear, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a cover-up, a distraction, a delay of their self-confrontation. And you deserve more than being someone's escape. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not just what you hide for someone else. So what now? You let them feel the loss. You let them sit in the space where your love used to live, not to hurt them, but to help them. Because only in that silence can they finally hear the sound of their own unfinished business. And maybe they'll grow, maybe they'll change, but that's not your job anymore. You've carried that weight long enough. Say this with me, I am not your bandage. Write it in the comments below. Say it to yourself when the guilt creeps in, when the old version of you wants to reach out and make sure they're okay. You are not here to hold someone together who never intended to stand on their own. You are not their emotional repair shop. You are a whole human being, worthy of being loved by someone who doesn't use your presence to avoid their own pain. So let them go, fully, not half-hearted, not with one foot still checking in. Let them face the silence. Let them sit with themselves. Let them finally confront the version of them that your love was protecting them from. Because the moment they feel your full absence is the moment the mask begins to crack, and the only question left is, will they grow from it, or repeat it with someone else? That's not your burden to carry. You've got your own healing now, your own path, and the next chapter of your life. It's not built on guilt, it's built on truth. The truth that says, I deserve to be loved fully, not kept around partially. The truth that says if you're afraid of losing me, show up. Don't just hold on. And most of all, The truth that says, I am enough. Without fixing, without shrinking, without saving anyone else first. Let them go. Let the mask fall. Let the silence speak. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It's about the power of being desired but never truly seen, and how to finally step out of that shadow and into your own light. Number 6. They need to feel desired, even if they don't desire you. They don't want to love you, they just want to know you still would. Let's call it what it is. This is not romance, this isn't connection, it's not even confusion. This is emotional ego feeding, and you've been the supply, the well, the faucet they turn on whenever they feel dry inside. Not because they're thirsty for love, but because they're addicted to being desired. And as long as you still want them, they don't have to question their worth. Your desire becomes their evidence, not of a bond, but of their own appeal. You ever notice how they light up when they know you still care? That little smirk when they see you react to their story? That random flirty reply after days of silence? That sudden rush of vulnerability the moment you start detaching? It's not affection, it's reassurance. You're not receiving love. You're being used as a mirror, one that reflects their desirability back to them, one that lets them know, I still got it. It's like walking into a store, trying on a jacket in front of the mirror, smiling at the reflection, and walking out without buying anything. They don't want to wear you. They just want to know they could if they wanted. That's not love, folks. That's vanity disguised as connection. And it gets deeper, because while they're busy collecting compliments like trophies, you're out here wondering what it all means. If they're not into me, why do they keep coming back? If they don't want a relationship, why do they get jealous when I talk to someone else? Because it's not about you, it's about how you see them, and they're addicted to the way you make them feel about themselves, not the way they feel about you. You've become a pedestal, a platform, a place where they can feel wanted without doing the real work of showing up in return. And the craziest part, they know exactly what they're doing. Maybe not consciously, maybe they're not villains in some cartoon movie, but deep in their emotional instincts, they've figured it out. You make them feel powerful, important, validated, and they can tap into that whenever they need a boost. They don't desire your soul, they desire your desire, and you. You keep giving it, hoping that one day it'll turn into something real. That one day they'll wake up and say, you've been here the whole time. I choose you. But here's the lie you have to break. Consistently desiring someone doesn't make them love you. It makes you available. And if they're not looking for love, just validation, they'll never stop taking it. Why would they? You're the source, the free refill, the emotional ATM. And as long as your desire is accessible, they'll never question whether they actually want you or just what you give them. Let me put it like this. They don't want to lose you, but not because they love you. Because if you stop desiring them, they'd have to sit in the uncomfortable silence of their own unworthiness. And that's what they're avoiding. Your desire is the noise they use to drown out their insecurity. It's the song that tells them they're still attractive, still wanted, still enough, even if they haven't done a single thing to earn it. But you're not a soundtrack. You're not a mirror. You're not a self-esteem boost for rent. You're a human being with feelings, with depth, with dreams, and every time you pour desire into someone who gives you nothing back, you chip away at your own reflection. You start wondering if maybe you're not enough. Maybe if you were more attractive, more exciting, more this or that, they'd finally choose you. No, my friend, this is not your flaw. This is not a failure of your worth. It's a failure of their emotional maturity. Because someone who truly values being desired by another person, they respect it. They hold it with care. They don't play with it like a toy they pick up when bored and drop when something shiny comes along. But that's exactly what you've been reduced to. a source of ego supply, a fan in the audience, and they keep performing just enough to keep you clapping. And here's the kicker, they get just close enough to keep you interested, but never close enough to commit. It's a pattern. Flirt, distance, come back. Engage, ghost, resurface. They'll never give you clarity, because clarity would kill the game. Clarity means you'd stop desiring them for what they might be, and start judging them for who they actually are. And deep down, they're terrified of that. Because they know, if you stopped seeing them through the eyes of desire, you might see what's really there: fear, insecurity, avoidance. They don't want to be loved, they want to be chased. And once the chase ends, the fantasy ends. And what's left? Nothing they're proud of. That's why they need you hooked. Not happy, not loved, just hooked. Tied to the feeling that if you just keep proving how much you care, maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll love you back. But here's the truth. You can't build a relationship with someone who only wants to feel attractive to you, not connected with you. So how do you break it? You stop performing. You stop clapping. You take your desire and point it inward. You stop being a mirror for their self-worth and become a reflection of your own. You stop giving compliments that aren't earned. You stop reacting to their stories like you're still part of one. You stop showing up just because they remember your name when they feel insecure. And yes, it's going to sting at first. Because detaching from someone you wanted so deeply feels like losing a future you imagined. But what you're really losing is the illusion, the game, the role you were never meant to play. So here's your affirmation today. Say it loud. Drop it in the comments. I choose me. Not them. Not the chase. Not the fantasy. You. Say it again. I choose me. Because your desire is powerful, and from this day forward, it belongs to someone who actually wants to receive it, not just benefit from it. Someone who sees you as a partner, not a pedestal. Someone who matches your energy, not drains it. So let them crave the attention. Let them miss the way you used to light them up. Let them sit in the silence where your validation used to be. That silence, that's your power returning home. Stay with me. What's coming next will show you why people don't just hold on to you for comfort, but because you make emotional laziness way too easy. And once you see it, you'll stop making effort for people who treat your presence like a privilege they didn't have to earn. Let's keep going. Number 7, they're emotionally lazy and you make it easy. They're not confused, they're just comfortable, because you've done all the emotional work they never had the courage to do. Let's break it down for real, my friends. This one isn't about them being broken, complicated, or healing slowly. That's the excuse they want you to believe. The truth? They're just lazy, emotionally lazy, spiritually lazy. Lazy when it comes to growth, commitment, depth, and truth. And the reason they haven't had to change is because you've made it too damn easy not to. You've been doing all the heavy lifting, carrying the emotional weight of two people while they just coast along, throwing you breadcrumbs every now and then to keep you from walking away completely. You text first. You initiate the conversations. You check in. You plan things. You care. You ask how they're doing. You apologize, even when they're the ones who disappear. You hold space. And what do? They sit back and enjoy the effort like it's background noise. They soak up the care, the comfort, the loyalty, without ever matching it, without ever earning it. It's like you're building a house, brick by brick, and they're just chilling on the porch watching you sweat, sipping from the glass of emotional comfort you poured for them. And every time you stop building and ask, are you helping or just here for the view? They act confused. I'm not sure what I want. I don't want to hurt you. I just need time. No, what they need is accountability. What they need is to stand up and grow up. But why would they when you've been the one doing it all? See, emotional laziness isn't just about them being passive, it's about them being addicted to the path of least resistance, and your loyalty, your kindness, your consistency, that's the perfect path. They don't have to face themselves. They don't have to work on communication. They don't have to show up consistently. They just have to give you just enough to keep you hoping. And it works. Because you're the type that believes in potential. You see what they could be if they just tried, if they just healed, if they just met you halfway. But that's where you get trapped, trying to save someone who hasn't even tried to save themselves. Let's call it for what it is. You're not being patient. You're being drained. Slowly, quietly, subtly. They don't even need to be malicious to do it. They just sit back while you carry the emotional dynamic on your shoulders. And the worst part, they start expecting it. They start thinking that's normal, that you should keep giving just because you always have. And you know what that does to you? It makes you question your own standards. You start lowering the bar, little by little, telling yourself, well, maybe they're just not good at expressing things. Maybe they're just scared. Maybe I'm asking for too much. No, you're not. You're asking for the bare minimum: respect, consistency, effort, clarity. These aren't luxuries. These are fundamentals. But they don't give you that, do they? And the reason they don't is because they never had to. You trained them to expect everything from you while giving almost nothing in return. And I know that stings. I know it's hard to hear, but it's the truth. Because the more you tolerate, the more they normalize it. The more you excuse, the more they escape. And the more you keep loving them for who they could be, the more they stay stuck in who they are, because there's no pressure to evolve. You want to see who someone really is? Stop over-functioning. Stop fixing everything. Stop being available every time they feel a little empty. Take a step back. Watch what they do when they're no longer being emotionally spoon-fed by you. That's the test. That's the mirror. And that's the moment you stop guessing whether they care and start seeing it for real. Because love isn't proven by how someone shows up when they need you. It's proven by how they show up when they have to choose you, when there's no benefit, when it's not convenient, when they have to put in the work. And if they won't, then what you're in isn't a connection. It's an emotional imbalance. But let's not lie. Letting go of this pattern is brutal. You're used to giving. You're used to being the one who shows up, who loves harder, who hopes longer. But what has it really cost you? How many nights have you spent replaying their mixed signals, trying to decode their silence, convincing yourself that this time will be different? It won't. Not unless you change. Not unless you stop making it so easy for people to use your presence without honoring it. Not unless you raise your standards, not just in your head, but in your actions. Because the moment you stop being emotionally available to people who refuse to meet you at your level, you force them to make a choice: grow or go, evolve or exit. And whichever way they move, you win. If they rise, you finally get a partner. If they run, you finally get your peace. So here's what you do. You take back your energy. You stop sending those long messages to people who reply with one word. You stop initiating with people who don't reciprocate. You stop fixing conversations that they keep breaking. And you stop loving people so loudly that they never have to listen to what you actually need. Right now, I want you to drop this in the comments below. No more easy access. Say it with your chest. Say it for every time you made excuses for someone who was emotionally unavailable. Say it to reclaim the value of your attention, your time, your love. Because moving forward, access to your energy must be earned through action, through effort, through consistency. No more freebies, no more emotional charity. If someone wants you, they'll have to show up, not just talk, Not just flirt, not just make empty promises, show up or shut out. And if that means walking away from someone who refuses to grow, so be it. Because you're not here to carry another person's fear of intimacy. You're not here to love for two. You're here to build something real, with someone who meets you with fire, not excuses. So hit that like button if you're done carrying the emotional load alone. Subscribe if you're ready to stop settling for lazy love and start receiving the kind of connection that requires effort. And stay tuned, because everything that comes next is about you. Rebuilding, rising, reclaiming. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And from now on, remember this. No more easy access. Type it, feel it, live it. Let's go.